Yo, what's up? It's your boy Carsback. Welcome to this video. How you guys doing? Today, we're gonna talk about Need for Speed. But before we get into that, I just wanna thank y'all for the positive reception you guys gave me for the Forza Horizon Best Map video. In terms of the next video coming up, which is the best soundtrack, that is gonna be coming out next month, either mid-February to late February, depending on if I get it done in time or whatever. But I'm gonna aim for that and see how that goes. And yeah, so let's get into the topic of today's video. I wanted to talk about Need for Speed as a franchise, because I feel like right now things have been doing well, I would say, for like Need for Speed Unbound with these updates, volume updates and everything. But there's been something on my mind for quite a while now about the whole state of modern Need for Speed, and I feel like it is a really big problem for the this current era of Need for Speed games. Before I get into let y'all know what I'm talking about, I'm gonna step it back for a little bit. When starting this whole franchise, started out as hot pursuit, cops versus racers esque theme, and those games, those classic Need for Speeds, they were all very distinctive from one another. They had a certain vibe that you're going into when playing those games. You're playing those games for exotic cars, driving exotic cars against cops, running away from the cops, doing races while the cops are chasing you. Very simple but very effective games. You go into the underground era with a Blackbox set of games. Underground 1 and 2. I don't need to explain it. Those games are well known for that early 2000s era of street racing, illegal street racing type of games. They have a certain vibe to them, and so they were mad popular at the time, especially when they were made during the first few Fast and Furious movies type of era. Fast and Furious 1, Too Fast, Too Furious, Tokyo Drift, that was made during that era. When you go on to Most Wanted 05, Most Wanted 05 is regarded as the best Need for Speed, and for a good reason, because of how that theme was and how distinctive it was. Same could be said about Carbon. Maybe some people don't like Carbon as much as Most Wanted 05, but you can't deny that Carbon had a theme that felt completely different from Most Wanted 05, when Carbon was a sequel to Most Wanted 05, direct sequel. It just felt completely different in a good way. The canyon races, the whole night setting, Palmont City feeling different, completely different from Rockport City. A lot could be said about Carbon. Same thing could be said about Pro Street. Pro Street is a completely different experience in a good way. I could say the same about Undercover. Maybe not as much in terms of the game being good, but more in the sense that the theme is still distinctive, regardless of the fact that it's kind of taking elements from Most Wanted 05. It still felt different. My whole point of this situation is, the point I'm trying to get at here is that these games had a theme that they went full force on and doubled down on without all of these games, and it kept going that way, that route. The Run, same thing. The Run is literally a movie put into a game. It's literally a movie game. That's what the vibe I'm getting out of The Run. I'm gonna be honest. And for what it was great. It felt short, but it was a nice, sweet short. And we know all about the run and how his theme was and how it's like potentially the best story we ever got in a Need for Speed game. I could talk about it all day. I can't wait until I get to review the run. Most Wanted 2012. Most Wanted 2012, regardless of what you think about the game, had a theme that it went with. You know, it's supposed to be a completely different game that Criterion thought, you know, was gonna work, but I guess something happened that they had to change things. It was supposed to be direct sequel to Most Wanted 05, same for Carbon, but that didn't really work out. So they kind of changed things up, but what we got was a Burnout-esque Need for Speed game, and that, for what that was, it doubled down on its theme, and it worked. In my opinion, it worked. And I still think that Most Wanted 2012 is really underrated, really overhated, in my opinion. Even back, the Hot Pursuit 2010 that Criterion made, we know how good Hot Pursuit 2010 is. Completely good modern rendition of the Hot Pursuit era of Need for Speeds, the classic era of Need for Speeds. And it didn't feel really like those classic Need for Speeds just because of how modern it felt and how good the map was and all that kind of stuff. Theme. That's a recurring thing I'm trying to get out here, a theme. I can say the same about Rivals. Rivals doesn't feel at all like Hot Pursuit 2010. It feels like a completely different game. Need for Speed 2015. Need for Speed 2015 has a distinctive theme. Its atmosphere is awesome. Its characters is whatever I don't know. You either like them or don't. But regardless of the fact that the atmosphere carries the game, the vibe carries the game. Even Payback. You can hate Payback, you can love Payback, I don't care. The theme is great because it actually doubles down on it. Regardless if you don't like it or not. You can't deny that Payback doesn't bounce back on its theme or doesn't hold back on its theme. Heat. Now, for the most part, Heat does double down on its theme. But at the same time, it kind of doesn't, because I felt like that game could have had a longer story that went more in depth into the lore of the game. And for what it was, I thought it was great. What we got was great, but something was held back. Another good example within that game that was held back was the cops. As you know, if you played the game at launch, you knew that the cops are a lot harder than they are today, or after, pre-launch or pre-updates and stuff like that. Well, not pre-updates, post-updates. They were completely harder from what we see them now. They're still hard, but they're not as hard as they were back then at launch. And that kind of, that was the whole point of Heat, to make the cops feel hard so that the whole gameplay will feel more rewarding. That risk reward of trying to get as much rep as you can at night will feel as rewarding as possible. And that was kind of ruined because of the cops getting nerfed. Then you go to Unbound, and not talking updates, not talking about all the stuff that they added within the online aspect of the game. Let's talk about the offline version. Just the story. Just single player. Unbound isn't a good game. Unbound doesn't do enough. Obviously, leading up to release within Unbound, we had some leaks regarding that the game was gonna have some anime-esque elements. Some people weren't up for that. And for people like me, I thought it was a cool idea. But it wasn't gonna be all anime. It wasn't gonna be full anime. It was gonna have realistic graphics with anime elements, with cell shading elements, graffiti-esque elements. And we've seen the actual game. We've seen this trailer. We've seen some promotional material, and then we're like, oh, this is not so bad. But it could have been way worse. It could have been way better, in my opinion. I felt like the cell shaded characters and the effects, I thought the effects were cool, right? But the cell shaded characters didn't fit right with the realistic environments, the realistic graphics overall, with the cars and the environments, everything, the map. It didn't fit right. And for me, I would have went full on graffiti style. That's what if I were Criterion, I would have went full on. And I feel like Criterion didn't do that because it would have subverted people's expectations and made people feel not so great about the game, and influence them to not buy the game because doesn't have realistic graphics. Oh, this game is just a cartoon, this and this. Criterion was kind of scared. That's what I think. Now, they could have had a different thought process. They could have had a different completely different mindset of what they wanted to go with this game. But me personally, I think that they held back. And that is the problem I'm having with these Need for Speeds. These modern Need for Speeds. Heat and Unbound don't do enough on their themes. They don't dwell enough on their themes. Heat was close. But they had to hold back on some things. Unbound didn't do enough. And we know the story of Unbound. The story of Unbound rehashes a lot of things that were done previously. Some Most Wanted 05 elements, some Heat elements. As well, on top of the fact that, it's trying to be this, street racing type of, dark, gritty kind of theme. People taking money from one another, hustling, all that kind of stuff. Wasn't done well, wasn't executed well because of the cringe lines, the bad dialogue, and Need for Speed wasn't always about good dialogue. We never really had good dialogue in Need for Speeds. Most Wanted 5 has cringe dialogue. Most Wanted Carbon has cringe dialogue. You think about any Need for Speed game, they have cringe dialogue. The only Need for Speed I would say that doesn't have that specifically is The Run. And for what it was, The Run, that's a different thing completely. But the thing about those games, though, for Most Wanted 5, Carbon, things like that, is that it still felt right because of the fact that they had their themes dealt right with, either the map, the soundtrack, other parts of the game make the theme feel that way. And for the cringe lines that they got away with that. And for what it was, they felt cheesy type of cringe. The cringe that you would kind of laugh at, but still enjoy. Not the cringe that you're just like, oh, bro, I just want to get off this game. I just want to play this anymore. That's the type of cringe I'm getting out of Unbound. And Unbound doesn't do enough with this map, doesn't do enough with this soundtrack, doesn't do enough. Now, the soundtrack is preference. You either hate it, you either love it, I don't know. Most people hate it. I'm in the minority where I like some songs, and I don't think it's completely bad, but it's preference. And for me personally, I think that the soundtrack doesn't do enough. It tries to, but it doesn't do enough. And you could look at other soundtracks and other Need for Speeds, like one of the, people that highly regarded or highly received Need for Speeds, well-received Need for Speeds. You can look at any of those games. They have great soundtracks that carry their themes, that enhance their themes. You can't look at Unbound and feel the same way. I could say the same about Heat. Heat doesn't really have a good soundtrack either. There's some good songs, but there isn't. It as a whole, it's not a really good soundtrack. And yeah. Now, what do I want from the future of Need for Speed? What do I want for Criterion to take the franchise? I want for them to look on a passion that they want to look on a passion project that they can double down on and just go full force on it. Have an idea and go full force on it. Double down on it. Expand on it. I don't want them to hold back. Oh, but no one's gonna like this. No one's gonna. At this point of the franchise, we shouldn't have that mindset. That's my opinion. Why? Because Need for Speed has always been about exploring all kinds of different themes. It's always been about that. It's been about that since the Blackbox era of Need for Speeds, when they were experimenting. Between, we had Carbon, Pro Street, Undercover, Shift, Nitro, World, Hot Pursuit 2010. That era was completely experimental. And we know what happened throughout the rest of the 2010s. Completely different games. We can't say the same about how it is now. Now it's just kind of just more illegal street racing. And that's really it. There's not more to it than that. There's not specific characters that carry the themes. There's not specific maps that carry their themes, and not specific childhood. Nothing like that. So for Criterion, I think you guys are doing a great job right now with the updates and everything, supporting Unbound. I think it's great. But what I want for the future of Need for Speed is the themes to be great. The themes to be more than just illegal street racing. To be more than just cops versus racers. To be more than just another racing game. Because when I look at Need for Speed, I look at a completely different experience as to what you get from Forza Horizon, what you get from The Crew, what you get from Gran Turismo. I look at a completely different aspect. Need for Speed is so distinctive. If Need for Speed were to go to a festival route, were to take that direction, like Horizon, like The Crew, I would be confused. I would be blatantly confused, and I would literally question what Criterion is doing, because Need for Speed has never been about that. It's never been about playing safe. It's never been about that. It's all about taking risks. And so I want the future of Need for Speed to take more risks. Anyways, guys, that is my take on this day of Need for Speed. What do you guys think in the comments? I want to know what y'all want have to say about this topic. I like to talk to you guys on what you guys think. Good conversations are awesome. Just keep it respectful, of course. If you disagree, say it in a respectful way. What do you disagree about? I like to talk. So anyways, guys, that's it. See you guys next time.